Hello everybody, it's Emery48 here and welcome back to another Star Wars Sunday. Today we are continuing in the Legends timeline with a novel called Kenobi by John Jackson Miller, one of the more common authors in the Legends timeline. This book was $7 and it takes place in 19 BBY, which is the time we've been in for a very long time. It's the same year as Revenge of the Sith.
Prologue. Obi-Wan went to a cantina on Tatooine to find directions to the Lars homestead. Wily Olbrek, a moisture farmer, is incredibly drunk at the bar. Mullen and Vika Galt, two children of Olbrek's competitor, their friends Zed Grobo and Jabe Caldwell, unintentionally start a bar fight with a Wookiee and Rhodians. Obi-Wan shoots out the lights and uses his lightsaber to de-escalate the fight after blasters were drawn. The Rhodians ended up dead and the Wookiee was chasing after Zed. After delivering Luke to Owen and Beru, Obi-Wan meditates, telling Qui-Gon that he has completed his mission and will have to stop reacting like Obi-Wan Kenobi. Obi-Wan is going to go into isolation. Part 1, The Oasis. Chapter 1. Ayark led a band of Tusken raiders against a moisture farm. They killed a human and a Bith, then found a family with an infant. Before they could attack the family, speeders of reinforcements came to protect the family, killing a few of the Tuskens. Ayark fled. Chapter 2. Oren Galt, the father, had led the defense of the Bizarre family. Oren has set up an alarm system that people can buy into to alert other settlers in the area of an attack, so they can band together and assist. Oren's group is helping the Bizarre family get back on their feet after the attack. Chapter 3. Annalene Caldwell, a widow, was left her husband's business, shop, restaurant, and bar. Her daughter Callie helps around the place while her son Jabe goes out with Oren without her permission. Chapter 4. The group came back with the family. Annalene argued with Oren for letting Jabe go with him. The whole community wants them to get together. Callie was trying to tame one of the dewbacks behind the shop when it broke through the fence and bolted with her on its back. Chapter 5. Annalene chased after Callie on her own dewback. Obi-Wan arrived on his own mount and got Callie off the dewback. Annalene was now on Callie's mount when its legs snapped in a hole, causing them to fall. Ayark is aware of people on mounts outside of settler territory. Chapter 6. A Sarlacc pit opened up to consume the wounded mount. Ayark had watched the events unfold, thinking Annalene had used some powers to keep herself safe. He wants to kill her, but felt the rumblings of the Sarlacc and made his way back to camp. Obi-Wan made it back to his home, attempting through meditation to talk with Qui-Gon, and he had been the actual savior of Annalene. Chapter 7. Oren was on his way out of the claim when a mechanic was going to help Olbrek stuck in the dunes with an overheated speeder. Oren said he would go for the mechanic. On his way out, Oren had alerted Annalene to a visitor on its way, and she got her kids armed. Chapter 8. The Jawas arrived to trade with Annalene. She banned her customers from trading with them on her property. Obi-Wan had hitched a ride with the Jawas to the claim. Obi-Wan went into the claim to shop, and Annalene let the patrons shop from the Jawas just this once to give Ben some peace and quiet from all the questions and watchful eyes. Chapter 9. The Galts and Callie had a brawl around Ben, who left the claim, paying but not taking all of his items. Annalene tried to go out and bring him the rest of his purchases. Chapter 10. Oren fixed Olbrek's speeder, who again refused to join the call. Oren then found Ben walking through his land away from the claim and offered him a drink and a tour. Chapter 11. Oren tried to get Ben to sign up to the call, telling him the story of the Lars family, wife kidnapped by the same group of Tuskens that raid the Oasis, and the failed rescue attempt that led to 26 deaths. Obi-Wan gave a very non-answer and said he would have to take some time to consider the offer. Obi-Wan tried again to communicate with Qui-Gon, informing him of his adventure to the claim and his wariness of becoming too much of a regular there. Part 2, The Killing Ground, Chapter 12. Aark tracked Annalene and Callie's journey home, finding the main base for the Smiling One, Orin, and the Air Shaper, Annalene. Aark has been doing reconnaissance of the claim for 10 days. It is now 7 days since Ben's shopping trip. Annalene left Callie in charge of the shop while she took Ben's forgotten items and took off in her speeder. Chapter 13. Annalene found Ben's home and delivered the goods. She also told him that newcomers exposed to the suns on Tatooine could look like they aged 20 years in 6 months if they weren't careful. Aark killed a Tusken who spoke out against his leadership. Chapter 14. Ben visited Annalene at the claim on race day when most of the rest of the people are at the city watching the race. Chapter 15. As Ben was leaving, Vika drunkenly crashed into Annalene's speeder and parked outside. Orin arrived shortly after and got yelled at significantly by Annalene. After everything settled down, one of the regulars of the claim stumbled out with a dagger in his back. Then a Tusken raider appeared in the doorway. Chapter 16. Ben used a fire extinguisher to block vision and used his lightsaber to kill 12 Tuskens attacking the store. Everyone was confused when the cloud went away. Aark came in pointing at Annalene, who then activated the siren and told them to leave. Chapter 17. The Tuskens retreated desperately, and Aark was very disappointed the warriors had not stuck with the plan. Orin is organizing the settlers into a counterattack. Ben and Annalene were cleaning up the shop when they heard the counterattack depart. Annalene, realizing Jabe was a part of the counterattack, got a speeder. Ben said he would go with her to watch out for Jabe. Chapter 18. The settlers massacred many of the Tuskens. Ben killed one as it was attacking Annalene in their viewing perch, just beyond the battle. Aark and other Tuskens were regrouping towards Ben and Annalene's position. Chapter 19. Ben returned Aark's son to her. Aark is apparently the mother, not the father. Ben flashed his lightsaber in a way one of the Tuskens could see, and they recognized the weapon as Sharad Het, someone who had joined this Tusken tribe in the past, and probably a Jedi. Ben used the Force to convince Aark to leave with her survivors, as there has been enough death today. Annalene is very confused as to all the ongoings. In total, 48 Tuskens had been killed, and it seems like there were 8 survivors. No settlers were killed in the counterattack, just a couple injured in the original attack at the claim. Chapter 20. Aark built a rock tomb for her child and remembered the day Sharad led her tribe into battle against Jabba the Hutt and failed, almost destroying the tribe and leading to Sharad's death. She also remembered the large tribe that disappeared overnight, leaving behind only their campsite. It implied the bodies were gone, but I don't think Anakin had ever bothered to dispose of the bodies. Chapter 21. Annalene dropped Ben back off at his house, then headed for the claim. When she returned, the claim had been cleaned and fixed, and people were celebrating. Orin was trying to convince people that the call was still necessary, even after such a major victory. Annalene was unhappy with Jabe for going out in the fight. As Annalene fell asleep, she realized she had not seen Callie since she got back. While Obi-Wan was meditating, trying to communicate with Qui-Gon, he sensed someone arrive outside his hut. Chapter 22. Callie had been outside of Ben's hut, but escaped before he saw. She reported all she heard to Annalene and Jabe, including his last name being Kenobi. Chapter 23. Ben arrived to the claim the day after the attacks, where everyone knew his name. A Gossam with 2 Gamorreans arrived at the claim. Chapter 24. The Gossam is Bojo Bupa, and he came looking to speak with Orin. He claimed publicly that he had denied protection from gangsters for their area, and that they had accepted that result. I am unsure of the truth of this, as we never saw the closed-door meeting. Ben is now meditating silently to Qui-Gon and has decided to stop going to the Oasis, as every time he does, something happens. Part 3, The Bright Center. Chapter 25. Some Tuskens brought a damaged Vaporator back to the camp. Chapter 26. Oren's harvest is worse than normal. It was one of Ulbrecht's Vaporators that the Tuskens stole. Chapter 27. Oren has booked Annalene and her kids a trip to Mos Eisley for the day and found a replacement to care for the shop as well as an envelope for her birthday, which adds to my suspicion of him. Chapter 28. The family picked up Ben on their way into the city, whose progress had stopped when they reported that his mount was ready to give birth. Chapter 29. Ben and the Caldwells have made it to Mos Eisley. Jabe and Callie are going to spend some time at a festival, while Annalene and Ben go somewhere else for lunch. Oren, Mullen, and Vika are also in Mos Eisley, but wanting to avoid the Caldwells. The fishiness continues with them. Chapter 30. During Annalene and Ben's lunch on a balcony, Ben spotted a stormtrooper and Imperial officer and cowered a bit in his seat. Oren met with Bupa and Jork, while his children kept watch. Chapter 31. Annalene, Jabe, and Ben saw Oren and Bupa go into an inn. Ben is going to investigate while Annalene and Jabe pick up Callie. Oren has a meeting with Jabba the Hutt scheduled. Chapter 32. Oren's meeting is actually with Masep Benid, the co-caretaker of Jabba's Mos Eisley office, when he is at the palace. The other caretaker is his cousin Lojug. Oren is in debt to Jabba, and they want him to make good the short payments he's been making, and are going to beat him for his failure to pay recently. Chapter 33. Obi-Wan, without revealing his identity, saved Oren from Jabba's thugs. Chapter 34. Jabe had found Vika and Mullen, then reunited with Callie and Annalene. They then saw Oren come out of the building and saw some of the credits he had stolen, as well as his roughened appearance. Ben then also returned to the group. Oren proposed to Annalene, who was shocked and said she would need some time to decide. Without revealing any plan, Oren has recruited Jabe for some mission that night. Callie is returning to the claim to care for the animals, and Annalene will bring Ben home once his repairs are complete. Chapter 35. Annalene returned Ben to his hut. There she asked if she should marry Oren. He also revealed some of the anguish he has bottled up, but not given any details. Obi-Wan meditated, trying to understand what to do with Annalene and the possibilities there. Part 4, The Rift, Chapter 36. 4 Tuskens attacked the Ulbrecht house. Ben arrived, saving them, and Oren revealed himself to Ben, trying to shoot him while the Ulbrechts escaped. Oren, Jabe, Vika, and Mullen were the 4 Tuskens trying to scare the Ulbrechts into signing onto the call. Oren ran away from Ben to where Jabe was, but Jabe got captured by real Tuskens, and Oren left him while Ben was in view. Chapter 37. Oren went to Annalene and told her about the deal he has with the bank and Jabba. He needs to marry her and use her savings to save his life and his farm. She was pissed and refused. He then said he could marry Callie instead, who was only 17. Annalene punched him for that, and he attacked her. Callie came in hearing the commotion and shot at the wall and told him to get away from her mom. Oren then told them that Jabe was dead. Chapter 38. Ben negotiates with Ayark while Jabe is unconscious. He brings out his lightsaber and uses the Force as a show of power. He has bargained to bring Oren to justice instead of killing Jabe. Ayark mentioned that this was not the first time Oren has done this kind of attack. Ayark allowed Ben and Jabe, who had now woken up and was rather confused, leave and return to the claim. Chapter 39. Ben got Jabe back to the claim but never went inside. Oren was pissed and went hunting for Ben. Jabe wasn't too thrilled with Oren, who had left him to die. Jabe told Annalene and Callie everything that had happened. Chapter 40. Ben spoke with Annalene and explained a lot of truths about Oren. He warned that to stop Oren, Annalene would give up all that she has grown, and her children would have to move elsewhere. In meditation, Obi-Wan is very conflicted in his current choices. Chapter 41. The next morning, Ulbrich joined the call. Oren activated the call that morning to launch a counterattack, especially against Ben instead of the Tuskens. Annalene sold her shop secretly to her trusted mechanic. Oren used a propaganda speech to motivate the people against Ben Kenobi. Annalene called the comm that Oren lost at Jabba's office, telling them what Oren was planning to do to get their money. Chapter 42. Oren and a lot of settlers are on approach of Ben's hut. He is aware of their arrival. Ben lured Oren and his warriors to Tusken territory. Using the Force, Ben seems to be turning the settlers against Oren. Then Mossif arrives, looking to collect Jabba's money. Chapter 43. Ayark revealed some details to Ben about the massacre a couple of years before, and I think Obi-Wan realizes it was Anakin. Ben has agreed to help the Tuskens move their home now that the Hutts have arrived, adding more enemies to the fight than he had expected if only the settlers arrived. Annalene has also arrived, revealing the truth of the Galts. The settlers decided to fight Jabba's henchmen for trying to serve their justice against Oren before them, starting a gunfight. During the confusion, Oren, Vika, and Mullen kidnapped Annalene and escaped the battle. Oren has brought Annalene into Tusken territory where Ben has a plan to keep the Tuskens and Annalene safe. Chapter 44. Oren left Annalene with Mullen and Vika in search of Ben. Ayark attacked Mullen and Vika, injuring Vika and killing Mullen. Ben sent a pillar onto Oren, trapping him. A crate dragon has also arrived, waking up from the sounds of the pillars Ben had knocked over. Vika fled while her brother died. Annalene and Ayark are starting to evacuate the Tusken children. Chapter 45. Ben used his lightsaber to kill the dragon, revealing to Oren that he is a Jedi. Oren now plans to tell the Empire. Oren drove off a cliff and died in an attempt to run over Ayark. Chapter 46. Oren had actually survived the crash, and Ayark had gotten him wrapped in Tusken wear. He is essentially their hostage to get them water from the stolen Vaporator. Ben arranged for the Caldwells to move to Alderaan and got Annalene into the university program. There she had always dreamed of going. She was hurt when he revealed he would not be joining them because there is a child on Tatooine he must stay and watch over. The settlers had also defeated Jabba's men in the fight, and Jabba's force retreated back to Mos Eisley. Chapter 47. The Caldwells have jumped into hyperspace for their journey to Alderaan. Ayark's tribe is working on rebuilding with the water supplied by Oren, who will likely die soon. Ben is continuing to watch over Luke and the Lars family. Now, the best way for me to describe this book is it was good, not great. That's the end of the book. It was an interesting look into what happened to Obi-Wan Kenobi in his early stages on Tatooine, and that it wasn't always such an easy adjustment for him. But in the grand scheme of things, the Empire isn't even involved in this book, which they shouldn't have been, because they didn't really start getting involved too much in his life up until the point where the show happens, which is another couple years down the line. But I enjoyed the book, and it was a good read. It was a pretty smooth read, which is always nice. Let me know your thoughts on Kenobi down in the comments below. Thank you everybody so much for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.